If you've ever gotten a whiff of a freshly turned compost pile, you know the air is alive with insects. In fact, there are probably more bugs near you right now than there are stars in the sky. And although it might not feel like it, many of these critters are actually related to some of Earth's prehistoric monsters. Take this monster, for instance. This bizarre beast is known as Meganura. No, not Megan and her friends from He-Man. This Megan was a type of insect from the Carboniferous period who had a giant pair of wings that could carry it off with your dog. Okay? Maybe not your dog, but definitely a small animal like a shrew or a lizard. In total, Meganura reached lengths of up to 36 centimeters, almost a foot long, which is around the same size as the short king of the jungle. Now, Megan wasn't the only giant bug to exist during the Carboniferous. There were also giant dragonflies and cockroaches. So what happened to all these huge bugs? Why don't we have giant bugs today? And can we bring them back? Please bring them back. Okay, well, let's start at the beginning. Like most prehistoric animals, we know about ancient insects thanks to fossils. But unlike most prehistoric animals, insects leave behind a lot more than just bones. Because of their exoskeleton, insects preserve in the fossil record in a number of different ways. We found fossils of actual insects, their eggs, their feces, even their footprints. And all of this helps us learn about how they lived. So how exactly do we tell if something is an insect fossil or just a random rock? Well, like with other animals, it helps if you have a good specimen. According to Smithsonian paleobiologist David Grimaldi, a good insect fossil has 3 clearly identifiable parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. It also helps if the specimen is complete, but partial fossils can be identified as insects by their unique body plan. Even if you only find one part, say a wing, you can still identify it as an insect. Because all insects share certain characteristics, like a particular type of vein structure. Now, once you've identified the fossil as an insect, you want to look for any distinguishing characteristics that can tell you what kind of insect it was. For example, this fossil of a beetle from Wyoming as Red Gulch Formation contains distinctive features that allowed it to be classified as a type of scarab beetle. See, beetles have a tough shell or carapace on their abdomen, which protects their soft internal organs. The ridges and grooves on this beetle's shell gave it more surface area, increasing the strength of its armor. And beetles have been making shells hard and strong ever since. Now, David says that studying fossils like these tells us more than just the size and shape of an extinct animal. By looking closely at fossils, we can often tell what an extinct species ate, how it moved, how it interacted with other animals, and even how it sounded. Take this relative of the modern-day cockroach, for instance. It lived around 250 million years ago and was over 30 centimeters long. But based on the scratches and grooves on its legs, we think it spent most of its time on soft surfaces like sand, rather than hard surfaces like rocks, kind of like me. But going back to Meganura, the reason scientists believe it was such a successful hunter isn't because of anything to do with its legs. It's all in the wings. During the Carboniferous, Meganura and other giant insects used their wings to catch prey, not just to fly. See, many had flat blade-like wings that they could use like oars to scoop up water to spray on their victims. Kind of like a chameleon catching its dinner. But instead of using their tongues, they used their wings. Now, insects aren't the only animals that have figured out how to use their wings to grab their food. Sure, birds have beaks, but they also use their wings to direct their food into their mouths. Plus, hummingbirds grab insects midair with their wings, and not the way you think. Their wings actually fold backwards, which creates a pocket for them to store their snacks until they're ready to eat. Kind of like how you'd store snacks in your jacket pockets before tucking in at home. But instead of having pockets built into their bodies, birds evolved to have pockets built into their wings. Neat trick. Anyway, with their powerful wings and bladed forelegs, Meganura were perfectly equipped to scoop up their favorite foods, which included small fish and aquatic invertebrates like clams and snails. But oxygen levels during the Carboniferous were around 35%, 5 times higher than they are today. So although Meganura may have looked and acted like a terrifying monster, it was actually thriving in an environment that was much friendlier to giant insects than our current one. In fact, during the Carboniferous, giant insects weren't rare. They were everywhere. And it was this environment that allowed them to get so big. See, it takes a lot of energy to power a large body, especially if you're an insect, because you don't have a skeleton to support you. But oxygen is full of energy, so more oxygen means more energy. In fact, the air we breathe is actually a lot less dense than it was during the Carboniferous. So insects today can't get the same amount of oxygen they would have gotten back then. Simply put, the oxygen level is too low. Without high oxygen, insects can't grow very big. They have to stay small to survive. So unfortunately, those pesky little flies buzzing around you this summer aren't the descendants of Meganura, though they could be carrying around their dog food. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe my channel to support my work. See you next time.